Welcome to another episode of For the Health of It. I'm your host, Corian Paget, and today I have with me Hannah. Hannah is a power lifter and she competes in the 57 kilogram weight class. Hannah, go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Hannah. I'm a certified personal trainer. I've been doing this for a couple years. I also compete in the United States Powerlifting Federation in the 57 kilogram weight class. I've been doing that for 3 years, and my general goal of fitness is just to inform people, not necessarily doing what I do or telling somebody they need to lose weight, but just to kind of take a all-rounded approach and help people understand the benefits of living a healthier lifestyle.
Okay, so Hannah, how did you get started personal training and powerlifting?
I got started training. I've been working out pretty active since I was in high school, and I would have a couple friends that would ask me to help them out with things in the gym. I realized I was like, oh, this is cool. I like doing this. So when I helped other people, that made me realize I wanted to start training. So through college, I kind of did it a little bit on the side, and then 2 years ago, I finally decided to make it official.
Okay.
And 3 years ago, actually, started to make it official and start my own business from it. In powerlifting, I just kind of eased into that. I was doing the main movement, squat, bench, deadlift, and I got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm doing this anyway. I might as well start competing. And my sister was competing, so she encouraged me to compete as well.
Okay. So how long has your sister been competing?
She's been competing for, I think, just a year more than I have, so 4 years. Okay.
And so you're pretty active family. Y'all both, what sports did y'all play in high school, if any?
I actually played golf in high school. So,
cool.
It wasn't powerlifting in high school, but, and I played, soccer in middle school a little bit, but I really wasn't as active on a sports team, but just more so on my own.
Okay.
Regard, so wanting to do things and going to the gym.
Okay. Well, quick side question. What's your shot on the 18?
I don't even remember. My best score.
Yeah.
I haven't played golf competitive. I played competitively in high school, and I haven't done that in a while.
Okay. You think you could still drive it pretty good now?
I played occasionally. I didn't play last year. Was probably the first time I didn't play.
Okay.
But I still have it, but it's definitely not the same as what it used to be.
Gotcha. I understand completely. Quick side note: they gave me I coach over at Jim Hill High School, and going into my second year at the school, the AD at the time called me up about a week before school started and was like, "Coach, You're gonna be the new golf coach also, so start practicing." And I never played golf in my life at all, and so this was a shock to me. I was like, okay, I'll see what I can do. And I don't know if you know too much about Jackson, but the area we're in is kind of it's kind of low poverty, so I had to go out and luckily I was able to get a lot of equipment donated. So I had about 10 people on my team total my first year. This year I was looking at having about 6, and we ended up getting everybody their own set of golf clubs, so I was able to do that, which was pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I was in a program in high school, and they did that. I still have the clubs. I have 2 sets, but they gave me a really nice set of golf clubs, so I really like programs that either encourage minorities or people who come from lower income areas to golf, because it's not very common.
Exactly. And that's I actually had a girl who because the way I built my team was I was like, I'm just gonna go after kids I like and that are easy to deal with, and basically I just was able to get a couple girls and a couple guys, and had, like I said, had about 10 my first year. And one of the girls I got, she gets out there, and obviously none of these kids have ever really touched a golf club, and she starts swinging, and the ball just starts sailing, and everybody's like, so she's been doing this for about a year or two now, right? And I'm like, this is actually like a second week of her doing this.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so she was pretty good, man. I wish this season wouldn't have been canceled because I was really interested in seeing how she was gonna do.
Right. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but necessary.
Yeah. True that. So, what year did you graduate high school?
I graduated high school in 2014.
Okay, good deal. All right, I just wanted to get a time frame of where you're at in your life. So you're about what, 24?
I'll be 24 in June.
Okay, good deal. Happy early birthday.
Thank you.
All right. So you said you played golf in high school and you were still pretty fit on your own. Where did you go to college at, and what did you major in?
I majored in accounting and communication studies at Wayne State University, and that's in Detroit. And I'm thinking about going back just so I can do a couple other things, but I really don't want to.
If what you got going on is working for you, I mean, I don't really see the point of going back. I don't know, but if you have your own personal accomplishments,
if it ain't broken.
Right, exactly. I mean, I had, again, not to talk too much about myself, but it's like, man, if I have a kid who was struggling in school, and his mom even said, I mean, college ain't for him. He's going to the military. Let him do that. I mean, if that works, it works. Not everybody's not saying that it wouldn't work for you, but if it's working for you, why fix it? You know, like you said, why fix it?
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. No, I already have my degree. I don't think I need another one.
Exactly. So you said you were pretty fit and you started personal training, and so you've been training about 3 or 4 years now. Personal trainer. Okay. And then you said your sister was competing. What club or what gym did she get initiated with, or did she get started with?
So she was going to a gym, it's like a powerlifting gym called Royal Oak Gym, and I went there a couple times. It's not a bad gym. It's just needs some updating. So. Right. I didn't want to keep going there. We both go to the same gym currently. I started going to this gym first, Motor City Iron Gym. Okay. But I think we both kind of started out just going to regular gyms before understanding the difference. And a lot of people don't know the difference. But when you start powerlifting, you'll learn very quickly that some gyms like LA Fitness or even some powerhouses aren't sufficient because they don't have the proper equipment to make training easier and more competition-like. Okay. So a lot of times people will go to gyms that are powerlifting specific.
Gotcha. So what are some of those what is some of that equipment that can make training more efficient?
So for the USAPL Federation, the one I lift in, we use something called an Ohio Power Bar, which is just it's just a different kind of bar. So it's like a stiff bar. We use that on all 3 lifts. So if you're familiar with like Olympic weightlifting, you'll have like your Olympic bar. So similar to that. Not the same bar, but it's similar in the regard that they have their own bar. They have like a men's bar, women's bar, things like that.
Gotcha.
But for powerlifting, we have the Ohio Power Bar. It's a stiff bar, so it's like, I don't know if you people use the word slack. It doesn't have a lot of like width in it, so it may seem heavier. Some people can not lift the same amount with a stiff bar than they could a regular bar. Okay. Most gyms will just have a regular one, but also a combo rack. Right. So that's going to be the racks that we use in competition. You can squat in on the rack. You can't deadlift. You don't need to do the deadlift, but you can squat and bench on the rack. It can also get your height, so make sure everything's kind of like locked in the same way, because a lot of times, from my experience, gym equipment is made for men. Right. And I'm only 5'3", so if I were to lift, I was going to LA Fitness a couple times because I work out in the morning before work, and it was on my way to work, so it was convenient. and I was kind of in off season, so it wasn't as important for me to be going to a powerlifting gym. And the squat rack there is either too short or too tall.
Gotcha.
So that's not an ideal circumstance when training, because you want something that's like equal height, so you're not going to have to, shrug your shoulders or get on your tiptoes or bend down too much. And that's the intent of the combo rack. And then the bench, they have the safety bars. Just so if you're bench pressing and you drop it, it won't fall in your chest. And then also it's like, it's not, you don't have to reach too high or it's not too low. You can put it right at your setting. So it's more customized. So those are some of the really important things. And then just calibrated plates, like the ones that they know they get weighed and they know that they're what they say they are.
Okay. Oh, that's pretty cool. Well, my next question is exactly how. Give me the story of how your sister introduced you to powerlifting. You said she was doing it for maybe a year or so before you, and then you kind of just fell into it.
Yeah, so she didn't necessarily introduce me.
Mm-hmm.
We were kind of both doing it. She just wanted me to compete.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we were both kind of doing our own thing within the sport, and she wanted me to compete. I didn't want to compete. I wanted to take a break from competition. I used to compete in pageants.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I just didn't want to compete at the moment. And everybody was trying to tell me to compete in bodybuilding because I have more of the physique of a bodybuilder, not a power lifter.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's saying compete in bodybuilding, and I just wanted a break from competing in general. So I was thinking about it, but I was more hesitant just because I don't want to compete just yet. It gets a little much sometimes, and I'm very competitive, and I like to get in gear and make sure I'm focused and make sure my head's in the game. So when I am not wanting to do that, it's for a good reason, because it takes a lot when I don't just do anything like half-heartedly.
Yeah, I completely understand that. So you said you competed in pageants. Give me a little background on you competing in pageants.
So I competed in preliminary Miss America pageant. So the idea is you have local, like counties or cities, and you win at the local level, and then you go on to the state level, which is Miss Michigan. And then you can, if you win Miss Michigan, you can go on to Miss America and get a chance to compete at Miss America.
Okay.
I didn't ever be Miss Michigan or anything local.
Yep.
A runner-up a lot, but there's a lot of politics involved in that, and not a lot of people who are just minorities in general. So that was kind of the biggest reason why I stopped. There was a major divide.
Right.
And I would have to go to certain parts of Michigan, and if you've seen the news lately, you've seen what the people were doing at the Capitol building, and how we have some neo-Nazis and people who are not necessarily supportive of people who don't look like them.
Exactly.
So I experienced that a lot in certain areas of Michigan, and even had questions asked to me that were not asked to any other contestants. So, and the directors were also, it was not anybody who really looked like me or could support me, so I stopped doing that because it was not because people drove me out, but you just know when you're in an environment that you're not even enjoying, so you ask why you're doing something, and I kind of asked myself why, and I couldn't justify it, so I stopped doing those.
Yeah, I completely understand. It sounded very toxic right there. So I mean,
very much so.
For your own mental health, that sounded beneficial to get out of it. So you said you got out of pageants, and then it sounded like there was a little period in between you being out of the pageantry, and then before you started competing for powerlifting. And you said at a certain point, people were asking you to compete in bodybuilding. I haven't had a bodybuilder on yet, so if you can give me your best interpretation or understanding of what it goes into being a bodybuilder, a female bodybuilder?
Yeah. So, I was actually training with a guy, and I was gonna do a show and decided not to. But there's different categories. You have bikini, and like each one has a knotted category for it. But you have bikini, figure, physique.
Okay. So that's the main three right there?
Bikini is more. Yeah, those are the main three for women.
Okay.
So bikini is more so for women who are. I wouldn't do bikini.
Right.
I would probably do figure because it's for women who aren't as muscular.
Okay.
They're more so lean.
Gotcha.
From what I've seen, I've been to shows, and that's just the general consensus. Figure is where you have women who are more so focused on like definition, and they're not going to be as large.
Right.
But you're going to have women who are just like, you'll see they have the cap shoulders, they have calves, quads, things like that, where they work on their muscles more so than a bikini competitor. And then you're going to have physique, which are like the bigger women who usually mostly, not to stereotype or put everybody in a category, but bodybuilding has just changed. A lot of those women are usually on steroids.
Okay.
But they're going to be the larger women who just who look very muscular. So
right.
Not at the point where I'm at or I'm interested in going. But those would be the three different categories. The training is altogether different. More diet focused. You want to have a low body fat percent. You're going to be doing higher reps, not necessarily worrying about the most weight. You want to more so do more reps so you can have focus more on muscle growth and isolating certain areas. Like if I were to do it, I would have to start working on having more capped shoulders, bigger calves, and like the quad separation.
Right.
That a lot of women will have. So those are the things that people focus on. Then they cut down their body fat, and then they tan, because darker, even like black people will tan. The darker, some don't need as much, but darker just shows more muscle definition.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
So a lot more to that, but like that's the general consensus of it.
Okay. Well, let's what are your favorite lifts? I mean, you got the main three. So what out of the main three, what is your favorite lift and what is your least favorite? And then any accessory lifts that you may like.
Okay. So my favorite is deadlift. That's my strongest.
Okay.
I can deadlift 413 pounds and have the American record for juniors in the 57 kilogram weight class.
Okay.
So that's like, I'm good at it, and I'm more proud of my deadlift, and I think it's just my stronger lift.
Okay.
My least favorite is bench.
Okay.
Because my deadlift is good, I have long arms. But having long arms means it's harder for me to bench.
Right.
So bench is definitely my least favorite and also my weakest lift. So I do not enjoy it at all and would honestly just like skip it if I could. And my favorite accessories are probably, I like rows, but anything like, I like doing a lot of upper body accessories. So anything upper body related, like rows, lat pull down. Like I enjoy doing all of those. Those are some of my favorite days. Not really a huge fan of legs. Like I'll work my legs because I have to. I don't want to be disproportionate, but I really like doing like rows with a dumbbell or a barbell or a machine. Those are some of my favorite accessories. But and like doing curls, bicep curls, just mostly anything upper body. Those are my favorite days, and I find it easier to do those things.
Okay. So, you said you're in the 57 kilogram weight class. What weight, if you don't mind me asking, do you walk around at, or how much weight do you usually have to trim down? Basically, what I'm trying to say is, how hard is it to maintain your weight class, to stay in that weight class?
I'm very different in that regard. I walk around in my weight class.
Okay.
Like if I had to weigh in right now, I would still be within my weight class. I've never cut for a meet.
Okay.
I've unnecessarily watched because I would get so stressed and worried, and my coach would be like, you're fine, but I've never had to cut.
Right.
And I like it that way because while I enjoy powerlifting, I also enjoy social activities. And before Nationals 2 years ago, I was in the Dominican Republic, and I couldn't imagine being in the DR trying to cut.
Right.
And just being miserable. So I like to walk around at my weight class. I also just kind of have I won't sit here and say I eat everything healthy. I am definitely a believer in flexible dieting, but one of the things I like to do is I don't overdo it.
Right.
I try not to overdo anything because that's where you come into these issues of people just overdoing it. And I don't eat a lot, and that's just how my body is trained.
Mm-hmm.
Our minds get trained to how we eat. So when we eat, like I used to do intermittent fasting, I wouldn't eat breakfast. It was so hard for me to get back to eating breakfast. Now that I work out in the morning, I really have problems eating dinner sometimes, so I have to eat breakfast.
Gotcha.
Because otherwise I would be walking around eating one meal a day,
right,
which is not good for me.
Right.
And I would not have enough carbs. But a lot of times our body starts to memorize our eating habits and patterns.
Mm.
So I do have to train myself to do certain things, but I've never really liked overeating or did overeat.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just something that has been with me since I was younger. That's how I was raised in a very healthy diet. So I like to drink. I tell people you can drink, you can do other things. I just try not to overdo it.
Right.
Quarantine is a little different, but
right. Well,
in regular times, I usually try not to drink during the week.
Okay.
So I'll leave drinking for the weekends and things like that.
Okay, I understand that. Next question: some of your favorite lifters of all time. They can be it can be all time and currently. If you have anybody that you kind of looked up to or patterned your game after.
So I'm a little bit weird in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have a lot of people who I looked up to or wanted to be like. There's some people who I think their strength is awesome,
mm-hmm.
but I never modeled myself after anybody,
right,
or had any inspiration in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not in an arrogant way. It's just that's just how I am with a lot of things. I just kind of make my path and do what I think is best. I'll take little bits and pieces that I see,
mm-hmm.
but it's not any one person who has, I feel, carried a torch down this path for me.
Right. Hey, that's understandable. I appreciate your honesty. So let me ask you, how do you feel about Olympic lifting?
So I think it's cool. I think it's definitely more functional than powerlifting, being totally honest.
Mm-hmm.
Because you do more and you're using more groups. But it is a little bit harder on the body.
Okay.
So, definitely harder on your joints.
Okay.
I'd like to give it a shot. I admire the skill, and I appreciate that it's in the Olympics.
Right. Yeah. I just realized, because I'm sitting here doing some research before I called you. I'm trying to figure out why I never really seen powerlifting in the Olympics. Well, I ain't gonna go in there, but just looking at the powerlifting not being in the Olympics, I'm like, I never seen it. Then I clicked it, and I saw, one of the reasons why is because they don't allow aids and the different belts and all straps and all that in the Olympics sometimes. So I guess I'm gonna have to do a little more.
I think the bigger issue there. The bigger issue is that there's a lot of politics and everything, but when it comes to powerlifting, you have several federations. Right. And you have APF, USAPL, USPA, I think it's WPF is another one. So you have all these different groups, and they have all different rules.
Right.
So there's not really a standardized you have your groups that are bigger,
Mm-hmm.
but there's not a standardized group where it's just like, okay, this is how we can get people to the Olympics. So that's a bigger issue because a lot of the things that they use belts, they use knee wraps, not knee wraps, knee sleeves.
Right.
So they use those things in the Olympics, but there are straps and there are wrist wraps, and some organizations allow certain things, some don't, and that's where the issue starts to come in. But other than that, like, I think there are some similarities in the equipment, but there's way too many people doing all different things for it to be in the Olympics yet. We need a standardized, like, federation kind of.
Okay. So what is the biggest? I wanted to know what are some of the biggest competitions or meets that you compete in annually, or some of the biggest ones that are known in your sport.
So some of the bigger ones is going to be USAPL Nationals.
Mm-hmm.
So that's held every year in the fall.
Okay.
And this year it's kind of disappointing because they're making it open registration, so anybody can go, which doesn't make it special.
Right.
But you have to have a qualifying total, which isn't very high in my opinion. But there are still some people that can't reach that. But I think it needs to be a little bit higher to make it a little bit more
exclusive and prestigious.
Yeah, a little bit more exclusive.
Okay.
But there's that, and then there's the Arnold Sports Festival. I competed in both, and then there's Worlds.
Okay.
So I was on the alternate list.
Mm-hmm.
I was a few pounds behind the girl who won to the spot to go to Worlds. But I was on the alternate list, and she did go and completely bombed the meet. But it happened. But that's one of the biggest like events, and like they've held those in Japan, South Africa, Canada, here in the U.S. And a number of different countries. Okay.
And the Arnold's, that's more in the spring, right? That would have been happening sometime like a month ago?
Yeah, so that did happen. That was one of the first events to get canceled, actually.
Okay.
They didn't cancel it, but they had no spectators.
So did you compete in it?
I did not compete in the Arnold this year. Okay. I qualified for the Arnold, but I didn't compete.
Okay.
I competed last year.
Okay. All right. So last year you competed in the Arnold and in Nationals?
Yeah.
Okay, good deal. How did you do at both?
I placed third in my weight class in both.
Okay. Hey, that's not bad at all. Not bad at all. What was your totals?
I have to look that up. I have it saved in my phone.
Okay.
So I didn't PR my deadlift, my bench or squat for nationals. I only PR'd my deadlift, which was the plan. I was really just going to try and get the deadlift, but
gotcha.
This year let me put this in pounds so I can tell you in pounds because most people don't know kilograms.
We appreciate it.
So I squatted 308 pounds. That was not a personal record for me. I benched 148, and then I deadlifted 413 for a total of 870 pounds.
Okay.
That was at Nationals. At the Arnold, I squatted 314. I benched 148, and then I deadlifted 396, missing the 413, and that would have also been my first meet getting all 9 attempts, but I missed the 413. Had it off the ground and almost blacked out. I have no idea what happened. But I totaled at 859, so about 11 pounds difference, and that was just that deadlift that carried the weight there for the second meet.
Gotcha. So before I get you out of here, I got a couple more questions, about 3 more questions I want to get from you.
Okay.
if you were to advise somebody on getting into powerlifting, another young lady, another African American lady, on competing on the national level, what would you ask or what would you recommend them doing?
So the first thing is just to compete locally and just plan and prepare. You have to know the meet you want to do, kind of plan why that meet, if you want to make it to nationals, understand the minimum qualifying totals that you have to have in order to get invited to nationals. And then just to not aim for nationals the first time, but to enjoy it.
Right.
My first meet, I'm a competitive person. I have a competitive nature. And my first meet, I was all business and I won, but also I didn't feel like I enjoyed it as much.
Gotcha.
So I would recommend somebody doing this, be competitive, but enjoy it.
Yeah.
And if you mess up, like I made a mistake and or didn't get a lift, like it happens. Every athlete, every person who competes, even if they're an athlete or not, has not hit. They've not achieved the goal that they wanted to in a given moment. There's a really great documentary on Netflix. I think they called it like Losers or something like that. And
okay.
They talked about a lot of people who were either second place or like they were in those moments and like they didn't win, and those things suck in the moment.
Right.
But understanding the type of not just character, but the type of lesson you learn from not winning is a valuable lesson. So just not putting so much pressure not putting so much pressure on myself would have helped, and I would recommend the same. Just to be fine with the outcome, and like not saying not to be hungry for achieving your goals, but not to destroy yourself because you aren't what you want, because you're not at the level you want to be at. Just keep going back at it, and that's pretty much it. Like anything, understanding that before anything else is just so important, because otherwise, if you keep putting yourself down for not achieving certain goals or in a certain time frame, it's just not a position of growth.
Right. Okay. That sounds good to me. Next question. What are some of the career goals you have for yourself?
So right now, I'm already in my career, and I've been working in my field for over 3 years. So, as far as that, I have my own business where I train my clients. So, it's on a pause right now because gyms are closed. But I'd like to grow my business, and I own a house, and I plan on renting that house out and buying another house. So, staying in my current field, even if it's at my current place of employment or not, I'd like to continue to stay in that field, and then expand my business, expand my clients, and just keep growing. Okay.
All right. Next question. Well, if it's okay with you, I would love to get you back on so we can go in, because one of these questions I'm going to skip out on because I really want you to go in depth about it. So next time I get you on, if possible, I want to have you talk about black health for both just the black population in general and then black female athletes. So if you don't mind, I would love to save that question for another time.
Okay, yeah, that would be fine.
Okay, and then last question. I saw you cosplay as Cammy one time. How big of a Street Fighter fan are you?
Yeah. So right now I haven't been playing because I am obsessed with Animal Crossing, and I've been playing this nonstop. I literally put 200 hours into this game.
Oh wow!
But I used to play like at least 3 times a week, which was a lot for me. It was working, and because I work after work with training clients, I work 9 to 5, and then I'll train clients after work. But I'm really into the game. It is one of my favorite games. I play online. I have the anniversary version.
Okay.
So I have all of them.
Wow.
I think my favorite one is Alpha 3. Street Fighter Alpha 3 is my favorite one.
Right. Okay, good deal.
So there's
Go ahead.
my favorite game.
I completely understand. I never really was that big of a fighting game fan. I think the biggest issue was My brother's like 4 years older than me, so he had all the games, and he used to just crush me in them. Like, and the games were always in his room, so it's never like I really had too much time to practice. But he would crush me in those games. But in 2K or wrestling video game, oh no, he can't see me in neither one of those. He would never see me in that.
I would love to play Tekken, which is not really wrestling, it's still fighting, but that's one of my games too.
Okay, my father-in-law likes Tekken. When I first got my Nintendo Switch, he was like, "Is there Tekken for it?" I was like, "I'm not sure, maybe." Then I looked it up, and he was kind of disappointed there wasn't Tekken for it. But he really, I don't know what it is with him and his obsession for Tekken, but he really loves Tekken.
Tekken is a great game.
Yeah.
Great game. 10 out of 10.
Okay. Well, Hannah, I really appreciate you coming on. This has been another episode of For the Health of It. And before I get you out of here, Hannah, go ahead and drop your social media handles.
Oh, yeah. So my Instagram is Iron Queen Fitness, and my website is ironqueen.com.
Okay.
And my Twitter is Iron Queen Fit.
All right. It works for me. Again, this has been another episode of For the Health of It. I'm your host, Corian Paget, and thank you, Hannah, for coming on.
Thank you.